all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we've got to get them off welfare.
Last words on my lips. I am a revolutionary, and you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Hello, and welcome to Cars and Comrades podcast, your favorite socialist car podcast. Today we have a special guest with us. Alex, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Cool.
Pretty all right. Okay. Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, as you can hear, we've got the whole regular crew with us as well. We're going to be talking about used cars, what to look out for, what to buy, what to maybe avoid. And let's get into it. First, I think we're going to do some car updates probably, as we always do. I'm not sure who is in turn to go first this time, but let's start with our guest. Alex, what do you got going on?
Oh, God. I've got 3 project cars at the moment. The only one The problem is my girlfriend's into cars too, so we actually just got her a new daily driver. And
it has no problems. It works perfectly fine.
And it will become a race car.
There couldn't be anything wrong with it because it's a 21-year-old German car.
Are you the best person we could have had on for the used car buying guide? I'm questioning this now.
Maybe the worst. Brought
him into the fold for a reason because he is the best and the worst.
He's
learned from his mistakes. Yeah, tip number 1, do not buy a 20-year-old German car. Bad idea.
Yeah,
I never got the impression that you learned from your mistakes.
No, we don't do that. I'm bringing some diversity for sure. We have 5 Volkswagens in the home currently. Yeah,
that's commitment.
So we got her a 2002 Jetta wagon.
Okay.
2.0 liter, the 2-point slow, it's actually known as affectionately in the Volkswagen community.
Mm-hmm.
An automatic transmission, which when the 2.0 is paired with the 5-speed manual, it's actually a pretty bulletproof car for Volkswagen, believe it or not. You do your timing belt, water pump, and oil changes, and you're good. But yeah, she's really liked them ever since she's seen them, and we're looking to replace her current car, which is a nice new shiny car that has a warranty, but she's 2 years in, sick of car payments, and due to buying the car like just before the COVID spike, she could actually get out of her car now and make some money.
Ooh, nice.
So
yeah, great.
That is a tempting offer for sure.
It's very tempting. She's got to lose the luxuries of a new car and the peace of mind of a warranty, but hey, she has a mechanic boyfriend, so she's used to all the luxuries. So I was in the garage till midnight last night putting Apple CarPlay and a reversing camera, and it only needs a couple other things. The transmission cooler is leaking a little bit. Definitely needs an oil change. Some knocking from the front. So we're going to do like strut bushings, vibrating a little bit, probably worn engine mounts. But other than that, it's actually a pretty solid car.
Good shit.
Yeah, in terms of our project cars go, that's like mint.
Well, that's her project car. I have 1990 Golf that needs valve stem seals and doesn't run without pouring smoke out the exhaust. And then I have a 92 Volkswagen GTI with a VR6 swap that needs a lot of love. It's actually pretty solid running wise. I just put a new steering rack, new power steering pump because the previous owner, quote unquote, deleted the power steering by never fixing the leak.
Yeah, I was about to say, let me guess.
Yeah,
I deleted the power steering in my old Toyota Camry too.
Yep. He's like, so I deleted the power steering. I'm like, okay. You want it, you want a little faster revs, this and that. And I look under the hood, I'm like, it's still there. He's like, no, well, it leaked and I never fixed it. He also deleted the air conditioning in the same way.
Same here, actually.
Yeah, the compressor's still there. It's still running on the belt, but it's deleted. So he also it's very common in the Volkswagen community, especially on the Golfs and GTIs. People like to delete the rear wiper blade because it kind of like cleans up the hatch area of the car. And whatever, that's fine. A lot of people never even use it. But he also deleted the front wipers.
I was going to say, I have a friend that bought a Volkswagen that they had done that to.
Yeah.
Alex, don't you live in Florida? Doesn't it rain there a lot?
Every day. Yeah. And this was his daily driver.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a friend who daily drove a Fox Body Mustang that he took the wipers off. I told him every time, I was like, dude, just put the fucking wiper blades back. What are you doing? Like, come on.
No, dude, it's more aerodynamic.
He was nice enough to fill the holes in the wiper cowl with drain plug bolts and washer grommets. Yeah. You might be wondering why I bought this car, but if you're not a Volkswagen person, the Mark II GTI is just getting increasingly hard to come by. And if they're in good shape, this is an extreme instance, but a 1992 GTI 16 valve that was all original BBS wheels, Recaros, actually went on Bring a Trailer 6 months ago for about $82,000.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, God damn. Bring a Trailer is fucking crazy, though. That's not a good measure.
No, Bring a Trailer
That's like a
is
fake economy. It's like cryptocurrencies of the car market.
It's money laundering, but in the real world, a really prime example of one, they're 20s to 30s now. I think they're 10 years away from being, in E30, M3 territory, if they're showroom condition and whatnot. So I got the car for $5,000 running. It's been resprayed, kind of shoddily, but decent enough, 10-footer. And it's just it's going to be a long-term, make it as close to stock as I can. So, yeah, other than that, the other Golf needs a cylinder head. So I need to drag that out of my dealership parking lot soon because they keep complaining about it. Other than that, yeah. Yeah.
Why do I feel like your projects have a higher likelihood of ever working again than some of ours?
I was going to say.
Yeah, both of these cars I got in non-running fashion less than a year ago, and they both run now, just not perfectly. So,
see, I do that backwards.
Yeah.
I'm really good at taking running cars and then just fucking them right up.
The problem is my daily driver is an SUV that has towing capabilities, and I live a quarter mile from a U-Haul place, so I just go get a trailer for $60, and if I'm on Marketplace and see something shitty enough, I could get it the same day. It's really a problem.
Yeah. It sounds like the opposite of a problem, honestly. That sounds great.
It's bad for my financials, and I live in an apartment complex that doesn't really monitor parking spots. There's guest spots that no one cares what's there. So I have almost infinite parking.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I used to do that same thing, but with scooters. And all you really need is a hatchback to haul a scooter around. You don't even need a trailer. So
yeah. Yeah, and then I have friends that I'm a Volkswagen guy, but I'm also an every car type of guy. I appreciate everything and everything. And my buddies got me down the first gen Honda Insight rabbit hole.
Oh, those are cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and he actually drove it down here last month from Delaware. He drives around the country. He has 4.5 days off every week and just drives around.
What, is he a landlord?
Believe it or not, he actually works for Walmart. He's IT security for Walmart.
Huh.
The shitty thing is he works Saturday and Sunday every week, but the good thing is he has plenty of days off.
Wow.
But yeah, he's got a lithium swapped Insight, and it's really fun. It's a really fun car, and he gets 69 miles per gallon.
Nice.
What? Nice.
Yeah, I don't want to send anyone else down that rabbit hole of the first gen Insight, but It's
Have you seen
easy.
that guy that puts the turbocharger on him?
I have not. Please don't tell me about him.
I well, I'm gonna anyways. I think it's in Florida. I think it's LHT Performance. I want to say I can find the link.
Mhm.
But he mostly does like S2000 stuff, but also a couple insights and Civics and whatnot.
You know they weigh like 1,800 pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, mostly aluminum.
that's the only thing that scares me. Like it's a great candidate for a daily driver because like how often do you need to fuel up? But also my commute is I-95 in South Florida, and I don't want to die.
Yeah, it's fair.
See, that's
But I
not a problem I
really,
have.
yeah, I really like that ugly, ugly citrus green that like the first year of those came in.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking. Yeah, that's pretty much it for my updates. If anyone's got any other fun car updates.
Oh, we do.
Yeah,
Of
we always
course,
do.
always.
Always.
At the very least, I've been busy.
Well, Brandon, you want to take it away? We'll go alphabetical.
Oh, sure. I can't remember where I left off. I had destroyed my bicycle the last time we talked, right?
I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. At least I don't remember.
As numerous people have now pointed out to me that my bad luck is not just with cars, as I was able to crack the frame of my bicycle riding home from work one day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I have actual updates. I have been not quite dailying, but almost dailying the Cutlass now.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Cool.
I built a new carburetor for it, and with a little tweaking and tuning, it was running still not great. I brought some stuff home to tune it yesterday, but way better than it was before. I now have a gnarly oil leak from the valve covers that drips directly onto the exhaust manifolds.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Fortunately, they don't get very hot. I've been working on that. It's a mixed bag because once I got the valve cover off, I realized that the previous owner, idiot, whatever, did not use a gasket. They just RTV'd it onto the motor.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Great.
But it was on there so fucking good. I don't know if it was warped from just being on there or if I like bent it a little bit taking it off. But now I replaced the gasket and it leaks much less, but still a bit. I had all these issues with belt alignment for my power steering pump. It was what I believed was bent, but it was missing a bolt in one bracket, and there was another like stud that you could tighten the bolt that I thought was tightening it as much as you wanted, but it wasn't pulling the stud into the pump. So I pulled everything off, went through it, put it back on. Everything is in better alignment now. I fixed my lights and turn signals and all weren't working. And so I fixed it by driving to my friend's house and hitting several bumps.
There you go.
And now they just all work. That's literally all I did, and I'm not going to ask any questions about that.
Problem
Yep.
solved.
Like I knew it's got two headlights on either side, and I had two working headlights. So I'm like, that's fine. That's enough for me to drop my friend off at home and get back. It's only like a couple of miles. And by the time I got home, I had 3 headlights and 2 turn signals, and a day later, the other headlight popped on.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
There you go. That's the best way to fix wiring problems.
It's the scariest because you know they'll be back.
When will it be back?
Yeah.
It's I didn't drive my Ford for like a week, and when I started it up, it wouldn't idle or run correctly. So I pulled the air cleaner off and looked because it felt like a vacuum leak, and it was the PCV hose had come loose, but also there's a little piece that goes on top of the carburetor that the air cleaner stud goes into that for this type of carburetor is held in place by screws on either side, and one was about to fall out and the other one had fallen out and it was in the carburetor, like inside the Venturi, hanging from the booster that sits in the middle of the carburetor. Like, if it tweaked a little bit, it would have just gone straight into the head. Got that all back sorted out and fixed up, and it still ran like dog shit. Because because that's the best that I can ever hope for from that motor. But I think I don't know, man. I just did a basic tune-up. I checked all the plugs, wires, fucked with just everything that I could, made sure that one of the linkages on the carb was slightly bound up. I found a slightly loose screw on my intake, blah blah blah. Torqued everything down, went through it. I actually did a more professional job than I usually would do, where normally I would be very almost slapstick about it. I went through, torqued everything to spec, double checked everything that could be causing any sort of misfire, because it was at this point it was down to just a misfire under certain circumstances. Once you're up to about 40 miles an hour, it had sorted itself out, but between 20 and 30 it was a pretty rough idle or rough run. And I don't know what I did to fix that either. I got it down to where it would occasionally misfire shifting into third, and now it just doesn't at all. So a lot of problems fixing themselves, but it was a trade-off, because as soon as that started running fine again, my wheel bearing went out, and that was yesterday. I haven't fixed it yet.
Fun.
But you don't need to.
Yeah, because I'm still on that life where if something doesn't run right, I'll just ride my bike.
Well, you got 3 good wheel bearings anyways, so.
Yeah.
I would consider the one that's going out one of the important ones. It's in the back.
Yeah.
But no, I'll sort it out. That's just annoying because I don't have a press. Pulling the axle out of that thing takes about 5 or 6 minutes. But my last wheel bearing, I cut it off with an angle grinder.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a press, and then I used a long piece of tubing and some Teflon to do some padding, and hammered the retainer for the wheel bearing for, I don't know, 45 minutes.
I guess if it works, that's a long time though.
Dude, it was literally I would go until my arm started to go numb, and then my friend would take over, because one of us had to hold the tubing so that we weren't banging it all over the axle, and the other one was smacking it with a 5-pound hammer, and it was just a back and forth for
oh my god.
It took 2 of us 45 minutes. It would have taken me alone 3.5 hours, because
Jesus.
I think Napa will still press bearings, or at least some of them.
I mean, I know a couple of places I can go. That day in particular, a friend of mine had given me bad advice on how to do it. And when I went to go do his advice, I'm like, hey, you're an idiot, right? And he's like, well, you're the one that listened to me. I'm like, that's not...
Yeah.
You can't always get mad at me for not listening to you and then get mad at me when I do listen to you and you're wrong all the time.
The more impressive part is if you got it done.
That's true.
And didn't damage the bearing.
No, okay, I did take some exhaustive efforts to make sure that the bearing itself wouldn't get damaged. The retainer ring that you actually have to press on, it might have been a little bit worse for wear, but all that does is hold the bearing in place and seat up against the axle housing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine.
If it works, it works.
I think I was pretty well done. I'm going to have to do a wheel bearing on the Ford, which, they're fucking annoying, but it's not hard. I know a couple of mechanics that, if I throw them $20, they'll probably just press it on for me if I bring them the axle. And worst case scenario, I'll go buy a Harbor Freight press and build whatever little fixture or jig I have to press it on and call it a day.
Cool.
Good
What
shit.
do those Harbor Freight presses cost? $40, $80?
Yeah, something like that. They're not bad.
I mean, hell, if you have the tube that's the right size, you could use a floor jack even to just push it up into something.
Yeah.
I do have a tube that's the right size. That is not the worst idea you just said.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Get that floor jack and just push it up onto there.
Yeah. Stick it
I'll
on.
wait till the next time we record, and I'm like, so here's the story of how I destroyed my roof.
Connor's advice is not to be followed.
Yeah, no, I've been driving the Cutlass a lot. It's fun. I can tell the transmission's fucked, but I'm enjoying putting a few miles on it. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I can't do burnouts anymore. Like I can't put the brakes down and do a burnout because the RPMs go way up, but nothing happens. Um, yeah, it's a bad transmission, but
Yeah,
I can
not
still
good.
launch hard from a stop sign and spin the tires for a good 10 or 15 feet. So I'm just enjoying doing that.
That's all
There
that
you go.
matters.
Yeah.
And the fancy neighborhoods that I live next to, they love it.
Oh, I
You know,
bet.
Brandon, with the number of burnouts you do, you should actually genuinely consider maybe like using some like drift tires or something like Kendas or Valino tires or something like what I use, because they do hold up to that kind of abuse real well.
I like okay. I'm gonna say that the a real dumb thing. Um, I like the it's like nostalgia or vintage or whatever like tread patterns.
Yeah, that's what I figure. I mean, I know it would be a switch, so away
Well,
from that.
it kind of depends. I've been reconsidering some of the previous stuff I've been doing to it. I want to put it on 17s and do a lot of suspension upgrade. And I feel like if all I was doing was running like a more modern style of like better tire and nothing else, then it's kind of lipstick on a pig. But if I do, I'm wanting to do coilovers in the rear and upgrade my
Yeah,
front suspension, 17-inch rims, and just generally do some stuff to improve the handling and driving, then I would consider it, I think.
that would be sick. That would be very sick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pricing out like all the different kits, and I think if I like don't bite off more than I can chew, then I could buy like the $1,000 like rear suspension kit here, and when I get around to doing that and get it installed, then cool. Then I can buy the like $2,000 like front like new A arms, new shocks, and coilovers, and like all that. I was like pricing out new K members because these are kind of big and bulky and all that, and uh, yeah, I'm just gonna let it be a thing that I can enjoy, but take it off. My goal is to have it be a thing that I drive as however much I feel like it, and then every now and then for a few weeks or a month, I take it off the road and improve something.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
and since I don't need it, as long as I have a bicycle, I'm good.
There he goes again.
Yeah, I'm never gonna stop talking about how awesome it is. You guys should all work 1 mile away from your home.
Oh,
I swear to God, if you bring up biking to work again one more time,
one more time.
It's okay, but here's the thing, though. I get why it's rubbing it in, but it's made cars infinitely better for me.
Yeah.
It has improved my hobby because it's no longer a necessity the way that it was.
It's car by choice.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
just
that really
the
is
way
nice.
it should be. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I mean, it's the argument that we've made here for probably half the time we've had the show. Once we realized that we're car guys who hate cars,
Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. Just not having the option to do it without the needing to is the most beautiful thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
So-
happy for you and hate you at the same time.
Yeah, exactly my thoughts.
That's an emotion.
That's how I have felt about myself for a lot of my life, except without the happy part.
Well, now I'm there with you.
And tomorrow it's going to be a little bit chilly, so I'm still going to ride my bike because I like the exercise.
I was going to ask, you get serious winters there in Pittsburgh. Is that just going to be the time you choose, like, okay, I'm going to take the car today because it's, 10 degrees?
No, Pittsburgh winters are not a real thing anymore like they used to be because like no one believes me, but I do genuinely believe Pittsburgh winters have already been destroyed by global warming like 10 years ago.
No, I believe it.
We haven't had a serious snowstorm, or if we have, it was like an outlier in like years.
Mhm.
Now that being said, when in my 20s I lived in Philly, and there were definitely days when it was like 10 or 15 degrees out, and I still would ride 15 or 20 miles that day.
Okay.
Because when I was younger, I didn't have cars at all. I rode my bike everywhere, and my normal routine was between 15 and 25 miles a day riding.
Yeah, so I guess you don't really need snow bike tires. You just need a ski mask.
Yeah, you just gotta
You'll
dress
be
more.
good.
I mean, for
Yeah.
the most part, like streets get plowed eventually, and a bike tire can go on that. Maybe not like the super thin road bike tires, but like your average, I don't know, bike with average tires on it can go over, snow once it's been shoveled for the most part.
Yeah.
You should know that I would never do a practical thing, and I actually do run super thin road back tires.
Oh, okay.
Actually, those are good because they're thin enough that they kind of cut through the snow.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I actually like. I used to ride in some pretty heavy snow. I've probably ridden in 6 inches of snow,
Yeah, I used to when I was young.
and I didn't have a good time, but I got where I was going. There was only one blizzard ever that was so bad that as it was happening, I couldn't ride in it, or at least wouldn't. No, I was physically unable to because my pedals were like in the snow. It was just too much. But yeah, now it's just a matter of figuring out if old man me is as tough as 25-year-old me, and he's not.
Yeah, I was about to say I can spoil that for you. I'm discovering definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I went to a death metal show like last weekend, and well, like I'm a big fucking guy, and I'm always nice to people in a pit. I want everyone to have a good time, but I kind of forget that I'm a big guy, and even my bouncer friend who is up above the crowd and like observing afterwards was like, dude, everyone was just avoiding you. Like no one wanted to get hit by you. So I'm just like, all right, yeah, hell yeah, I'm still a like tough old man. And then the next day I could barely walk.
Still got it.
Wait, who did you go see though? I need to know.
Exhumed and Sepultura.
Oh, that's a great show.
To be clear, it wasn't Sepultura, but it was the real Sepultura. It
Right.
was Cavalera Conspiracy, so it was Max and Igor Cavalera playing the first two Sepultura albums.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. I went to see Cannibal Corpse and Mayhem and Gorguts.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking great.
I-
And Blood Incantation opened, which if you're not familiar with Blood Incantation, you need to check them out. They're a Denver band. Fucking so sick.
Okay.
You might have told me about that one.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the name sounds familiar, so maybe I've heard you mention them, but I definitely don't like know them.
Oh yeah, definitely give them a listen.
All right. I will forget this, but I will try to remember.
I'll remind you because
Yeah,
I
good.
talk about them a lot.
But yeah, that's pretty well me. Brian, what have you been up to?
Well, before I say that, I did find that Florida man who put a turbo on a stock Insight, so I'm gonna.
Hell yeah. Enable me. Ooh, it's red too.
Sorry, I muted myself there. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering if we were just watching a YouTube video now instead of recording.
I kind of was, but that's fine.
I'm just trying to like skip through it real quick just to see. It does look ooh, dyno numbers. What do we got here?
I think
That's
it got
the,
even.
that's the interesting part.
I think it even got better mileage too.
Yeah, this not only gives the cars a little more power, in most cases we've seen a 5 to 10 mile per hour gain.
Yeah, mile per gallon. Yeah.
With a turbo? This is fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
They're a lot of fun, even without a turbo. It's hard for a small car to not be fun.
Yeah.
But something about the combination of the weight of the car being under 2,000 pounds, and then I've never driven a stock one. I've only driven his with the lithium swap, but like the torquey assist from the electric motor, just a blast to drive.
Is it a manual too? Your friends?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
So I haven't been working on too much. I've mostly just been driving my Subaru after I got it back, running and everything. One of the things I had to do when I was working on it was disconnect the power steering lines, and now they're leaking. So I got new O-rings and gaskets and stuff for that. I just need to install it. But right now it is making a weird noise and being kind of herky-jerky and dripping fluid onto the exhaust and smoking out the hood.
Ooh,
So that's
yeah.
fun. The other day, my coworker was like, "Is that your car that's smoking in the parking lot?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. I've got a fire extinguisher."
I know about it.
And then it's also, I think, leaking gasoline out the back somewhere, out of the tank. And I'm really hoping it's just the gasket that the pump goes on, because I had taken the pump out just to check it when I was having trouble, and I didn't replace that gasket. So I think maybe it's just a little torn or whatever. If that's not it, it might be like the fuel filler neck, and that'd be a bit more of a pain in the ass. But Yeah, I don't know. It smells like gas, so I've been parking it outside to not burn down the house or anything. And then I haven't done anything with my MR2. I just need to figure out what kind of tires I'm going to buy and put those on the Saturn rims that I have, and then park it in the garage for a few months and do all the bushings and other stuff that I want to do to the suspension to freshen that up over the winter. But yeah, first I want to tackle everything all the other little leftover repairs on my Subaru and get that ready for the winter. Put the snow tires on it and all that shit. But oh, and I also need to swap out the shifters on my bicycle because they're not working 100%. One of them has a visible crack in it, so I'm pretty sure that's the problem. And I have new shifters for it. I just haven't put them on yet. So that's about where I'm at. I'm sure
Slowly converting this into a bike podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
I think I told you guys when I got it, but I have a bike that I found in a dumpster that I need to do some work on, so we can definitely do bike pod.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Bikes and comrades.
That would actually make way more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we did do a couple shows about bicycles.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. So, Connor, what have you been doing?
I haven't been doing terribly too much on the car. I'm pretty sure the last time we recorded, I had already put in the new hydraulic handbrake. So I can confirm. I think I hadn't used it though, or not really, or maybe I had. I don't know. It works real well. I'm happy with it. It locks up the rear wheels very nicely. It's got pretty good placement, although it does hit my my knee because I don't have a racing seat, so I get thrown around, and my knee is hitting the new hydro location. So I have it covered in rags right now, just to like protect it a little bit, or protect my knee from it. But I am going to have to put in a racing seat, which has been sitting in my garage for several months now, but not in the car.
Isn't that the one that you had some problem with, like brackets not lining up?
Yeah, so it was, the brackets and stuff weren't lining up. I think I have a way to make it work. I'm gonna have to like cobble it together a little bit. So I have like loose seat rails that I'm going to attach to the bottom of the seat, and then wherever those sit, I'm gonna see if the bar that I have actually fits. I have a feeling it won't, so I'll have to cut the bar that like the adjustment, lever. So I'll probably have to cut that and either like cut it and make it smaller, or cut it and then add a piece of tubing or metal in between it to make it wider. So I don't know which way that's going to go yet. I just haven't wanted to fuck with it. And a part of me is like nervous about putting too much work into it because there's just that part of me that's like, ugh, I don't have a removable steering wheel and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, am I gonna be able to get in and out of this fucking car with a racing seat, like a legit racing seat? Like, there's probably some, some that are like a little less aggressive than the one I have, which the one I have isn't even that bad. It's reclinable and stuff, but I don't know. I'm just a little nervous about how that process is gonna go. And I would do a removable steering wheel, but I don't know. I see a lot of people have those and they're really cool, and I want it really bad. But also, I kind of like having an airbag because, like, if I get in an accident on the street, I would like to survive. Like, so I don't know. I'm kind of like, not having an airbag seems not great. But
it's a rough combination of daily driver / practical race car where you're trying to
that's
make
where I'm at.
those compromises.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people do which when I was young, I bought a steering wheel and everything. I was going to put it in, and it wasn't even because of, I just never got around to it, but it wasn't even the airbag concerns. Like, I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll die, whatever. I'm a little bit older now, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to just die. So
Not
Wait,
yet.
aren't I older than you?
He's like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Give it a few years, it'll come back around. You'll be like, I've lived a good life, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it again.
It's car guy horseshoe theory.
Yeah.
Young wants to die. Middle aged, not so much. Old, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, fuck it. So yeah, I have been looking into, which I don't think there's removable steering wheel options. Like I can get a better steering wheel that would allow me to retain the airbag, but I don't think they'd be removable, which really fucking sucks. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in and out of this thing. Maybe I will, and it won't be a big deal. But it's just one of those things that I've got to think about. But yeah, I was at a track event. Like, was it last weekend or the weekend before? No, the weekend before last weekend. I went to the track, and I'm almost certain I was literally the only car that did not have a racing seat. And I'm like, man, I remember a few years back, like people didn't like automatically upgrade their cars to have a racing seat. Like it wasn't like the first thing people did. And I think in the last few years, like that's like the first mod that people do for their drift cars. So I feel like that's shifted a little bit, and also I'm behind on a lot of the modifications. So like, there's a bunch of shit that I have done, but there's a bunch of shit that I haven't. Like, this is just, hey, I don't have the money for everything. You know what I mean? And this is my daily driver. So like, everybody now is running, hydraulic handbrakes and angle kits and racing seats, and I'm just like, yeah, one of these days I'll get there. And it sucks like drifting on like my OEM wheels and stuff, which the car doesn't look great. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that coolness factor. Drifting on the stock wheels, it just looks very normal. So there's a lot of things that like I could still upgrade, but point being, I went to the track. I did have a good time for the most. Well, okay, actually, it was kind of a disaster. So I had a fun time, but it was kind of a disaster. So I went to the track. It's about 4 hours away. I was in a hotel that was whatever. The hotel kind of sucked. I'll leave it at that. It was not great. But so I went to a 2-day drifting event. I was there for the second day to actually drive. And if you follow our social media, this was where I was when I was posting a million pictures and videos to our stories of drifting. Obviously, that's where I was. So I didn't get to drift at night because I just didn't have the Saturday pass. I was just drifting Sunday. But I went and I did okay, but I had a bunch of tire issues. So like 2 of the wheels that I brought were on used tires that I wanted to like burn up. And they were both, one was leaking air kind of quickly, the other one was leaking air slowly. And then I had all 4 of my stock wheels, which is what I normally drift on. So I had some issues with getting flat tires the week prior to the event. And so one of them, like I had a bad valve stem, I had that fixed. And the other one, my mechanic didn't get a chance to look at. And I was like, fuck it, whatever. It's losing air pretty slowly. It's not a big deal. So I got to the event. I went to the track at night. I was doing all this stuff. And then I come out to the parking lot to go, like, it's like late at night. I'm going to go grab some food and go back to the hotel. And I go to the parking lot and my driver's side tire is flat. And that was a tire that had not been having issues. So I was like, oh, no worries. I have a air compressor in the car. I'll fill it up real quick. Didn't work. So I got it to about 15 psi. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe it'll hold air for long enough for me to get back to where I need to go. It did not. So I had to, on the side of the road, of course, luckily I had some extra wheels that were also leaking air. But you got to do what you got to do. So I put it on a different wheel, and that was fine. But I saw, it wasn't until the next day that I figured out what was going on. The 2 front tires that I had on the inside had worn so, I don't even know what the fuck happened. They were wearing on the inside because I run, some negative camber, but not like that much. Negative camber doesn't wear your tires out as much as people think. My toe is probably off a little bit, just because I've changed ride height and coilovers and I still haven't gotten an alignment. But I don't know if that's really what caused the issue. So on both of my front tires, the inside where the sidewall meets the tread fucking just completely blew out. Like wore to a point on like a specific part of the tire where there was just like an absolute slit through the entire point where it met the tread of the tire on both front wheels. And I think that was because the week before I was at another track and I was trying to practice higher speed entries, which did not go well. I spun pretty much every time. So it'd be like, and by the way, higher speed entries, not that fast in my case. I'm still pretty rusty. And I never drifted really that fast. So I was trying to do like third gear shit, right? So nothing crazy, 55, 60 mile per hour entries. And this track is pretty slick. So I would spin pretty much immediately, like a clutch kick and like right back on the clutch. And it was still just like, it was hard to not spin. So I think spinning the car out at 55, 60 miles per hour, like a dozen times might have been a little bit too much for the front tires to handle. So I don't know if that's what caused it, but like based on the way that it looked like, it was like almost like it found a spot on the tire that flat spotted or something, and like I think that's where it was catching and just like dragging across the fucking pavement in a perpendicular fashion. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of probably what did it, which sucks because like these tires were drift tires that I meant to put on the back, but because I had to put them on the front, I just didn't drift on them. But they had almost like the tread looked almost new on both the front tires, and both the front tires failed the same like day. Like the one that was leaking air a little like after over a few hours looked bad, but the one that I didn't have any issues with looked way worse because like when it went out, it was out. It was fucked. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like I've been driving on the highway all this time with these tires, and I'm like, I am so thankful that I didn't have like a more serious blowout because they were not good. So yeah, I had those tire issues, which meant I had to buy a couple of new tires at the track and have those mounted, and I had to do a lot more swapping tires. Like I'd have to switch like my back tires and put them to the front, take the fronts like, so I had to spend way more time in the pits than I usually do, which sucked. And then pretty much right as I figured out my tire issues, my crank position sensor decided to take a shit and I started losing power. So like I was trying to like drift and like I'd get to a certain part of the track and I'm like, why does it like in the morning I was able to do this, and then like here it's like I'm like just don't have the power. I'm like bogging down. I was like, what the fuck? And my check engine light's always on, so like I wasn't paying any attention to that. And also one of my O2 sensors, don't know how, but I had discovered that one of my O2 sensor wires was just completely cut clean through. So I wasn't paying any attention to the check engine light for that reason. So I was like, until I ran the code and I looked at it, which, I use my phone app, which again, I highly recommend you get. I looked at the phone app and I'm like, crank position sensor. It's an easy fix, but it's like, it's the afternoon. And I'm like, I'm going to just try and get as much seat time as I can. I'll fix this like this week. So it kind of just changed how I had to drift. It wasn't as clean, but I just relied on the handbrake a little bit more. So like instead of like trying to do more clutch kicks or like trying to power through stuff, I was like, I'd go into it with a little less power and use the handbrake instead. So like my runs were okay. I was able to like drift through the day, but yeah, it did put a hamper on my drifting a little bit. So, I adapted as best I could. I have it fixed now. But yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer that it was like tire issues in the morning and then, engine power issues in the afternoon. So my drifting was not quite as good as it could have been, but, whatever. I mean, this whole season has been me shaking off the cobwebs. So hopefully, I'll be able to do a little bit more next year. And of course I have plenty of upgrades planned. Getting a racing seat, in the car is one of the big ones. So that and the angle kit that I also have sitting in the garage. So, upgrades are coming, but overall, it wasn't too bad. I'm just happy to get like any kind of seat time, really. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, not having a racing seat, you don't realize how exhausting it is because you're especially with the kind of driving you're doing, you're probably trying to hold yourself in
Oh, I am.
place
I've seen videos of in the car. I use my elbow against the door, like while driving. Like it's so goofy because you don't know you're doing it until you like the next day you're like, man, my elbow hurts. It's like
It's exhausting as hell, and you'll see
Yeah.
once you get a real seat in there, like the fatigue will be way down when you're like strapped in properly.
yeah. So I am looking forward to that.
My
So I
funny,
just
stupid input on this, from my perspective, is that I have bucket seats in my Cutlass, which is, you know, the performance option for 1967, and I have bought a bench seat that I'm going to recover because I would rather have a bench seat and still do the dumb shit I do.
yeah, I can
Yes.
tell you I feel like if you did try to like actually drift the car and do like even if you try to do a figure eight, I feel like you would be like, oh, I definitely need bucket seats again.
Oh no, I just want 4 of my friends to be able to sit next to me up front.
There you go. That works.
Hell yeah.
That'll keep you in place. But anyway, that said, that's all I got. So Zach, what have you been up to?
Oh man, not a whole lot, but did I update you guys on the Audi yet?
It sold, didn't
You
it?
sold it, yeah.
It's sold, yeah. I couldn't remember if I had mentioned that on the pod or not, but
Then I was like, oh no, wait, is there an update to that?
well, there is a bit of an update.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I sold it to the guy, and he messaged me and said that it was having some issues and was asking me about it, and I was
Yeah, they're
like,
your issues now, bud.
yeah, you bought it. I don't know what to tell you. I did help him out as much as I could, but yeah, I was like, yeah, welcome to the fucking club, brother. It's shitty here. You made the decision though.
Yeah.
So
No take backs.
yeah, no takesies backsies. It's yours now. You deal with those problems.
That is literally the worst Audi S4 ever made as far as like drivetrain standards. Like the V8,
Yeah.
it sounds amazing, it's great, but it is probably one of the least reliable engines they ever made, and that's saying a lot for Audi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I trust me, I'm very familiar with that. It's it was a gigantic pain in my ass, and I'm glad that it's gone. And yeah, I pretty much told the guy, I was like, yeah, look, like, sorry, it's your issue now. I think I did a pretty good job rebuilding it, you know, as far as I know, I did. So any issues henceforth are not
New.
not new, not on my conscience. I did what I could. I got the timing chains and everything fixed. So, you know, any issues that come up is just on you, buddy.
Did he seem naive to what he was getting himself into, or like?
No, he seemed to have done a lot of research on them and like was asking me very pertinent questions. Like seemed like he knew what he was talking about and really had done his research. But yeah, he still was pretty gung ho about buying it. So you know, that's on him.
Yeah, I've bought and sold enough German cars that like, and I've had like the phone calls about, you know, issues afterwards. I found it like more peace of mind for me, like sleeping at night, is just being like super transparent. Like, hey, you know, what you're getting yourself into, right? Like, this isn't going to be a Honda Accord, and you have to really want this car because it may be a headache. And then like,
Yeah.
from there on out, like you accept that, okay, you're buying a used car that I'm telling you could be a problem. There's really not much you could say to me after.
It's hard to not laugh at y'all because I drive stuff that's notoriously a problem, but also notoriously hard to find parts for.
Yeah.
Oh, you can find the parts for this car really easily. They're all just $900 each for.
Oh, that's
any
what I'm
little
saying.
part.
For my early Chevys, it's like, oh, you can't find it? Fucking make it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's why I know how to do so much of the stuff that I know how to do, because I had to learn to make stuff. But nonetheless, it can be a frustrating process. So like when you're like, the big complaint is like, the parts are available, but they're expensive. I'm like, there are days I would take that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it sucks dropping, you know, several $1,000s on parts, but at least I didn't have to fabricate it. So
Everything's a trade-off.
It sucks having to like Having said buying
Yeah.
a V8 Audi, like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same thought when I bought it. I was like, this is awesome. It's a V8 Audi. Like, what could be wrong with that? And
So,
then I got into it and was like, yeah, okay, I see why these things are cheap. This sucks.
yep. Well,
Um,
someone else's problem now.
yep, not my problem anymore. So I'm focusing on other things now, namely my Subaru. I bought some suspension for it. I ended up going with lifted suspension. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the pod yet or not either, but I went with what's that?
I think briefly.
Briefly. Yeah, it's still being built. They said like 4 to 6 weeks out on the suspension, but I went with flat out 3-inch lift and 3-inch extra travel.
Nice.
And once I get it all together, I'm definitely going to be hitting up some rallycross events in that guy. And since I sold the Audi, I now have some money for a pickup, which I'm still looking for. And I think this episode will help me decide what I'm going to get. I've got some trucks that we're going to look at, and you guys can tell me that they're terrible decisions, and I'll
Do it anyway.
do it anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm looking at like first or second gen Tundras and some like 08-ish F-150s. So you can tell me all the problems with those trucks and why I shouldn't buy one.
The big problems with F-150s is that they were made by Ford.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest issue.
I don't think anyone can take issue with a Tundra. I mean, I don't know enough about them, but like it's a Toyota.
Yeah. Yeah, the bad thing is that all of the ones that are in my price range have over 200,000 miles, which I know for a Toyota, that's like right past the break-in period, but still.
You know, honestly though, I feel like so I to me I look at the truck prices and I'm like, no, I can't do it. No way. Not in a million years will I pay, $15,000 for a truck with over 250,000 miles on it. But the number of trucks from every brand like that I see is kind of crazy. Like, and I don't know the actual reasoning, right? If it's just because they use iron blocks or what it is, but a lot of trucks from pretty much every brand, the American ones, the Toyotas, the Nissan, whatever, they're all capable of going well over 200,000 miles for decades. They've been like that. And I don't know if it's because they run like, do they run lower compression or something? Like, is it just like, oh, well, it's because they run 9-to-1 compression on non-turbo engines that like it's just a cakewalk for them, or what? But like that does seem to be a thing with most trucks, is they can pretty reliably hit high mileage, which is unusual for like when you come from like thinking about cars. It just seems different, and I don't know the reason for it, but
Yeah, the mileage ranges are just completely different. Like a high mileage truck is pushing 300,000, where a high mileage car is pushing 200,000.
yeah.
If I had to guess, I'd say that it's just that, pickup trucks in the US, that's a very competitive field. And so all the manufacturers are putting some effort into engineering a decent truck.
Yeah.
The same used to be true for like minivans. I mean, it still is to some degree. Like you can get I went and found, a few dozen minivans for a decent price, if that's your thing, or family sedans, same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that trucks in general are also just less abused. I mean, they're obviously abused in a different way, but they're not like driven hard like a sports car might be. So that has a lot to do with it. They're mainly commuter vehicles, so the hard life that they live is more just like nasty shit getting thrown in them and things like that, rather than people beating up on the motor and running it out to red line at every stoplight. That's not really happening as much with pickups. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. Looking for a truck. Still have the Ranger. It still needs a transmission. I'll do that when I do it.
That's the attitude I like.
Who knows when that'll be, but it's on the list. It'll get done when it gets done. I got some money now, so I'm not super worried about selling it to get money to buy a truck. I've got a little bit of cash saved up, so I'm just looking for a pickup.
Have
Yeah.
you? I think it was you. Were you still on the possible Maverick idea?
Yeah, I would love to get a Maverick. If I could find one at MSRP, I would buy it tomorrow. Like,
They don't
Is it
exist.
still very like a competitive buyer's market if you wanted a new one? Are you looking for a new one or lightly used?
anything, honestly.
Yeah.
You just can't find them. I mean, used ones are going for MSRP prices, and new ones are going for 10K over.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, I would love a Maverick, but yeah, it's just not in the cards. Like, I mean, I just couldn't justify it. Even if I had the money to buy one outright, I wouldn't spend 10K over MSRP on one because that's just fucking stupid. It's supposed to be a small, cheap, light truck that, is cheap. And that's the whole idea behind it. And then, they had supply chain issues there for a while. And now I think they're just relying on the idea of supply chain issues to mark them up like crazy because they've come into production pretty well now, but they're still selling for way over MSRP. I mean, if you can find one for like 5K over MSRP, that's a pretty good deal.
I mean, they didn't. I don't think they ended up following through on this at all. So fuck them. But Ford was like one of the companies that announced that they were going to, I don't know, have some sort of repercussions if
Right.
Dealerships continued to price gouge.
Yeah.
So
They
I mean,
did,
at least on the manufacturing end, it wasn't entirely Ford's doing.
Yeah.
I'm almost starting to feel like, and like, bear with me here. It's almost like capitalism has failed us.
No, it would never do that.
Hey, listen,
You crazy?
buddy, I'll help
I'm just
you
kidding.
back.
I'm just criticizing crony capitalism.
Well, why don't you try moving to one of the countries that we exploit then, pal, if you hate it here so much.
If you hate America so much, go somewhere we can bomb you.
I literally had a coworker say that to me. I just made like a comment in passing about, health insurance. Yeah, he's like, why don't you try going somewhere? I'm like, what, that we like exploit and, take all their resources and shit? And he's like, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Try going to one of the third world countries that also somehow still has healthcare.
The same healthcare we do, but maybe even better.
Yeah.
It'd be great if Ford would kind of, because I think it was did Ford collaborate with Mazda when, like, remember the Ranger and the B2000 were like a
Yeah.
truck?
Yep.
Yeah, if they would like get in bed with them again and like have Mazda maybe, come out with an equivalent, and I don't know if that would help the market at all, but you'd think it would if there was more available.
Yeah, I definitely could see that being a
I
big
would
help.
buy one with a Mazda badge if I was.
Yeah, but
looking for
here's
one.
the thing. Here's the thing. You got to think about this from that capitalist perspective. Right now is good to have a truck that everybody's scrambling for and can't get enough of and will pay any price to get.
Manufactured.
So they probably don't want to. They don't.
obsolescence.
What was that?
Well, it's manufactured shortage, I guess, if they're not actually
Yeah.
short parts anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like Brandon was saying. I mean, it's mainly the dealers that are doing it. Like Ford is, at least in word, come out against the markups, but not like they're actually following through on that. But
Yeah.
it's
And don't
really
forget-
just Ford dealerships that are.
Hey, if you
price
can't get a
gouging.
Maverick, go ahead and buy a Bronco.
Yeah.
And they're selling plenty of those. So
Yep.
Yep.
there is some. I think there is some level of supply side scarcity being manufactured here. Like the same reason American car makers don't make cars anymore. They make only trucks and SUVs.
Yeah.
Soon, and then everybody points to, oh well, everybody's buying trucks and SUVs. It's like that's all you fucking sell. So
Yeah.
that's what people buy. It's capitalism doing the capitalism thing.
Yep. And I don't want to like blame the individual too much because obviously there's bigger forces at work. But goddamn, the amount of people that I see driving trucks that do not need a truck that I know is just pushing up the prices of trucks really gets under my skin. I mean,
Yeah.
it really does. Like people driving these massive pickups to work and back, and they work in an office. It really does bother me because I'm like, you're the reason, motherfucker. You are the reason that I can't afford a truck.
Yeah, that doesn't happen at all in Florida.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, none of my coworkers have lifted Dodge Rams with tire shine on them.
Yeah.
Are we still seeing lifted trucks, but with the low profile tires?
Oh God, every day.
Yeah.
And the LEDs in the fender liner
Yes.
showing
No.
Honestly,
us that they have fender liners.
a lot of that shit I can forgive, but the low profile off road tires hurt me to my core.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love how they have these wheels like they almost copy that like JDM style with the deep chrome dish and everything. I'm like, that's cool in a JDM car, but if you have a truck, it's not cool. It's like that's supposed to go in the dirt and on construction sites and off road. Like you shouldn't be able to have those wheels. Like I'm sorry, it's cool when someone who doesn't off road has those wheels.
Yeah. Well, they don't off road either, but you know.
No.
You know, yeah, I know. You know, it's like the old whatever they used to do in like foot binding in ancient China or something, where they're like, oh, we're so rich that we don't have to work, so we can like disfigure ourselves, and it's like, what the fuck? That's what those trucks are to me.
It's sad to see what inbreeding has done to the modern truck.
Oh, you know what? That meme I found on Hexbear and posted on Facebook, and then Connor shared it on our social media. And now I've seen that same meme like make its way around the meme-averse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see the watermarks on it. Like I know where it came from in the first place.
Yeah.
We're helping the revolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
With me,
Aiming towards revolution.
Honestly, to me, like I'm making some assumptions here, but the thing that drives me crazy about the weird like Ram 1500 and 2500 bills that we're talking about is that they're taking so many aesthetic cues from people whom the drivers of those Rams would happily say racist things about.
Oh yeah.
yes,
100%.
yeah,
Should
so
we
crazy.
talk a little bit about buying cars?
I think that we should.
Real
should.
quick, I forgot about a couple things. Do we have time for a rental car review?
What do you mean?
So a couple weeks ago, I went to New York for a wedding and rented a Kia. And,
Absolutely, we
can
have time
do
for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we absolutely have time for that.
Okay.
I have a related one as well, but I'll let you go.
All right. So I reserved a Toyota Camry or similar. And when I got to the counter, they're like, guess what? You have the choice of a Chevy Malibu or a Kia K5. And I'm like, I have no idea what a Kia
what the hell is
K5
a
is.
K5?
I thought that was a Chevy Blazer trim level. But okay, I'll go with that since it's the newer car, I guess. It's a 2023. So it's a, like mid-size, full-size sedan, something like that. It's the kind of like melted catfish looking one with the turn signals that wrap around the headlights, so it looks like it has orange eyeshadow.
Ugh.
So not the greatest looking car, if you ask me.
They've been marketing it as kind of sporty, though. Like that much I know.
So it does have a turbo engine. I think it's a like 1.5 or 1.6 liter turbo. I think it makes like 180 horsepower. So like not slow. Like it's got decent power. It does have an 8-speed automatic, which is kind of weird because it would be like in fourth gear at like 30 miles an hour. And I'm like, I'm not used to this. And I think you can get like a more powerful version. I don't know how much power it has or what transmission. I think maybe there's like a DCT or something. But the complaints I had about it was the visibility is terrible, especially in the rear. I guess that's, just styling and aerodynamics over like being able to see.
Yeah, that's not good for a non-sports car. Like I
Right.
can make sacrifices because my shit's cool. You can't make those sacrifices with a fucking Kia, in my opinion.
Yeah, a sedan, like, I don't know. And then the brakes are like the most overboosted brakes I've ever experienced. Like to the point that it was like touchy and twitchy. I had to be like really careful, like, pinky toe pressure on the brakes.
A part of me feels like that's just newer cars in general. They all seem to like be way stiffer on the brakes than I'm used to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
I don't even know how to participate in this because I find almost any car made after the 90s undrivable.
The brakes are too good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just used to the like steel braided brake lines and like decent fluid that I have in my cars. That it's a little bit more direct, but like I don't know. It was a tough getting used to. And then also like I couldn't figure out, like I'm not used to the whole like electronic interface stuff. Like I couldn't figure out like if it was in a certain type of drive mode or whatever. Like, but the transmission seemed to be shifting into high gear pretty quick, and so it would like lug the engine on at like 1500 RPM. It would just be going down at like I'd be driving at like 40 miles an hour. It'd be in at 1500 RPM and kind of making some weird noises. So like I didn't figure out like where the button was to change it into like sport mode to see if that would do a difference, make a difference or not. But I don't know. But yeah, I would not recommend. I mean, fine for a weekend, I guess, but I would not buy one. I mean, especially given the how easy it is to steal Kias and their reliability issues. But
Yeah.
oh, and I went to a car show yesterday and met a couple internet friends that I hadn't met in person, and
Nice.
let my one friend drive my Subaru because he was interested in it, and he's like, "Yo, dude, I need to get one of these. Is this for sale?" I'm like, maybe, honestly. Like I've been having enough trouble with it that maybe I just want to get rid of it. So we'll see on that.
Yeah.
But sorry, did you have something, Zach?
Yeah, I had a similar story. I didn't get to drive it, but I rode in a Tesla Model 3.
All right.
Yeah, I called an Uber, and that's what showed up. And I was in the back seat, and I, honest to God, have never been in a noisier vehicle in my life.
Which is saying
Every
because there's no
time.
engine noise. Like
No. And I don't know if that made it worse, that made it more noticeable, but everything creaked. I heard plastic cracking like every time I moved. I was scared to like shift in the seat because I was like, I'm fucking breaking this thing. It was making so much fucking noise. And then I think the suspension was creaking as well. And just I could not tell you what all the cacophony of sounds were that were coming from this vehicle, but it was ridiculous. The whole time I was just sitting as still as I could, thinking, if I break this car, I'm going to be in trouble. And like I don't enjoy this at all. I don't know how you can drive that thing for Uber and drive people around in it, because yeah, the noises it was making were very concerning. I was like, I have a 30-year-old Ford Ranger that makes less noise than this fucking thing.
Well, of course, it's going to make less noise if all it can do is sit still in a yard somewhere.
Hey, it's not in a yard. Thank you very much. But yeah, that was my car experience that I've had recently.
Well, it's a good thing that the autopilot didn't crash you into something and you didn't burn to death trapped in the back seat. So we're happy about that.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that as I was sitting in the car. That really upped my anxiety as this thing is creaking and popping. It's like, oh god, we're gonna die. It's just gonna spontaneously combust and I'm gonna burn to death in an electrical fire.
I mean, I will say I did think it was very nice of Brian to send you the reminder of how to get to the manual handle in the rear seat. I think that was very very kind of Brian to do that. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
that
out for
was.
you, man.
That did calm me quite a bit. I was like, okay, at least I've got a tutorial here in case.
Got this tab open just in case.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break and then we'll get back to the main topic.
let's do it.
Sounds
right.
good.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back, and this episode we're going to talk a little bit of advice for what to look for when buying a used car, and we're also going to get some input from Alex on what to look out for when you're taking your car to a mechanic, and what some of the common pitfalls are. Because I don't know if we mentioned this previous, but Alex is a bona fide mechanic and not just one of the shade tree mechanics like us. But we're going to put that off a little bit because Connor has to leave in a few minutes. So one thing we thought would be fun to do today was give ourselves a challenge to find a car in our area for sale for around $5,000 and see, what are some good cars or, sketchy cars that we could find. So since Connor has to leave here, what did you find, Connor?
So my first instinct was to look for a 240SX, which I do periodically from time to time. I haven't in a long time, but over the years I have looked for cheap 240SXs, even fucking shells that I can that I shouldn't buy but definitely fucking want to. And I don't have the money for it and all that. So I started with looking for 240SXs, and in the Chicagoland area, I came up with, I think, one result for a single car, and I don't think it was running. And so that was with the $5,000 budget, which, spoiler alert, I was looking up to 6,500, figuring, hey, I could talk it down or go a little bit over budget, because we all know that's how it works. You find a car you like, and then you're like, oh, suddenly my budget is actually a little higher. So I was playing that game a little bit. It's cheating, but anyway, so I did look for 240SXs, and the reason you won't see any in my list are because I didn't find shit. So I was actually surprised. I was like, damn, you can't get fucking anything for $5,000 anymore for 240s. They've all been crashed, rusted out, or they're already built drift cars, pretty much. So what I did find was a couple of 350Zs that are definitely on the cheap side. And then today I was looking also at a couple of more practical cars. And I actually came across a couple of Toyota Corollas, and I got to admit, after looking there, I'm like, okay, if I ever do have the ability to get a daily, which I really should, Toyota Corolla, kind of a decent option, at least from what I saw. So anyway, I did want to present a couple of the cars that I found. So let me put this in the chat here. So this first one it's one of the 350Zs. I haven't actually clicked on it yet. So I think this is the 35th anniversary one, right?
Yep.
Okay,
The
cool.
purple one?
Not many pictures of it, which is concerning. So since we're talking about what to look for, probably a little bit of a red flag. But no worries. Connor is not scared by red flags. This car is $4,500. $500 under budget. You know what I could do with $500? Fucking modifications. Very good idea. That's definitely the way to go. It's got 154,000 miles. And the description is as follows. In all caps, rebuild title. Then not in all caps anymore. 2 gear grinds. Messed for more info. So, look, I'm going to say I do see some red flags. I get it. However, $4,500 is a 2005, which, now that I think about it, I wonder if this is a rev up. If it's a rev up, I probably don't want it. So in 2005 on the 350Z, there were rev up engines and non-rev up engines. In fact, this is a 35th anniversary. This is definitely rev up. So I'd be a little bit more skeptical. I don't like the rev up engines. They have a higher red line, but they came with some issues and they burned a little more oil and blah, 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 blah. But for $4,500, I don't know. So I'm not sure. Alex, what do you think? Do you see some red flags here, or?
Yeah, right off the bat.
Okay, what do you got?
I'm gonna say mismatched front and rear wheels. This was a drift missile.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not a red flag for me because I run on mismatched wheels all the time. That's a drift car thing. Whether or not this is actually
that's what I'm saying. It's a drift car. Now, are we talking about something you want to buy to get to work? Or anywhere?
Ostensibly, yes. I would like it to run on the street. Sure.
You're not wrong that really for the price, it's hard to lose. But 2 gear grinds, which one? Can you get into first gear without going into second and first?
That's a good point. I would have to ask that question if I were to meet this seller.
Things you
Yeah,
guys are
'cause-
considering red flags. I consider options.
Yeah. Also,
Well, I'm looking at this. I can talk this down, right? I can go in and be like, oh, 2 gear grinds. Oh man, whatever. And it doesn't matter which gears are grinding. Whatever they are, I say, oh, those are the really important ones. Oh, I don't know, man. Maybe would you take 3,500 for it?
they
Then
would all day.
all day. That's what I'm saying. So, and then I go, oh, mismatched wheels. You got any spare wheels I could take too? So I
Yeah.
think I could get this down to a pretty good deal. I feel like I'd probably spend a lot of time in the garage fixing it too. But
that's
maybe
just
not
a
the worst
bonus.
Yeah.
That's just a bonus, more wrench time.
yeah, that's a perk. Now I don't know what to say about a rebuilt title. But I have generally avoided salvage titles, rebuilt titles. And I don't know if we're going to have time to get onto that topic before I have to leave, but it's a common thing you see on Craigslist, so I'd love to know your thoughts on it maybe after I jump off. I don't know. But
Yeah.
title issues seem like, a thing.
The one thing I like to look for, buying used cars, thinking, okay, if let's say you were willing to pay 3,500 for it, do you realistically think you could turn around tomorrow and sell it to someone else for 3,500?
Oh, that is a good way to think about it.
Not even if you were interested flipping it. Like, would 3,500 even sound like a good deal to someone else? Because you have to remember sometimes we're a little insane, and what we think is a good deal based on something we like is actually still like someone else is like, "What's wrong with you? You paid that much for it?"
I do feel like that's one of those, and I think I don't know if we mentioned this in a previous basics episode, but it definitely helps to bring a friend. Just another set of
Yeah.
eyes to be like, hey man, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, preferably not someone that's as insane as you are when it comes to cars. Someone with a little more even keel
Yeah.
to help mitigate some of that. Ooh, I want it bad kind of
Yeah,
feelings.
you can't bring the enabler. And another thing I found that's really good also for like negotiations, I always seem to end up finding cars I want in Orlando, which for reference for you guys, that's like almost 3 hours north of me. For whatever reason, there's just like less sketchy cars up there and good deals. But what we do is we'll go look at the car and then we'll be like, listen, like we just took a long drive. We're gonna go to lunch and think about it.
Oh, I
And
like
just like
that.
yeah, just like a dealership, like same thing if you walk to a dealership, you're looking at a car, the last thing they want you to do is leave. So if you leave, they're like, okay, this guy's like, we probably just lost him. He's not coming back. And that's a good way to negotiate. You can be like, I'll even shoot a text. I don't care. I'll be like, listen, we're out to lunch. We're thinking we're going to head back. It's a long drive. I just don't think the car is mine for the price you want. And you kind of put them in a situation where you don't have to have that awkward like in-person negotiation. And you could just be like, listen, I'm willing to pay this, but if not, like I'm more than willing to head home. Thanks for your time.
I love the awkward.
Damn, this is great. Yeah, new tactic just dropped. I'm doing this forever. Wow, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
I
And
got to
it's-
bring in a slightly different perspective real quick because y'all are coming at this from a wildly different angle than I ever do. I
can't wait.
find the vehicle. It's like, to me, I'm going to a craft store in search of a canvas, and I need a specific size canvas. And it's like, oh, that size is more expensive than the other ones. It's like, well, yeah, but that's the one I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I go to a car. Like the Cutlass was actually one of the only things that I didn't buy specifically because I was seeking it out. And then I actually used tactics, and it took me 3 weeks to buy it, and I paid $2,000 less for it than asking.
Yeah.
But like
There you go.
my Ford van that breaks down constantly and needs tons of body work and is just a constant headache and problem, I overpaid for that happily because it's a rare body style that's hard to find. It's hard to find even in the condition that I found it in. Running and driving, it had a fresh motor, blah blah blah. But like, yeah.
So Brandon, you're seeing the issue here, right?
Sure, it's different ways of approaching the same problem.
You're the poster boy of exactly what we're telling listeners not to do, right? Because maybe if you listen to this back, I think you'll hear it, and maybe it'll change your behavior a
Oh
little
no,
bit.
I hate my Ford, but I also looked for it for years. And when I found exactly the one I was looking for, I bought it, and now it's my canvas. Do I make mistakes? Sure. Do I get mad and punch a hole in it sometimes? Yeah. And I don't know how to patch canvas, so sometimes it just sits there for a while. But the point is, like, every time I fix something, there's one less thing I have to fix in the future, unless I did a bad job, and then that's on me. But eventually it'll get to the point where I've done the body work, I've put in a motor that I want, I've put in a transmission that I want, and then I have something that I can drive coast to coast if I feel like it, and doing like my dream fucking cross-country trip. Because that was the thing I wanted. I now just have to turn it into something that will start sometimes.
Yeah.
I relate to that too, because my last GTI I bought, I feel like I overpaid, but it was still something I wanted, but I still, that like going to lunch tactic for me is just as much for me to make a sane decision as it is in negotiations. Like, because you get there and the car, it's maybe not as nice, but you're like, you just want to get it done, and you're like, okay, just come down and think about it logically. But it's work. I've only done this for the past few cars I bought, but I feel like I've gotten good results from it so far.
No, I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tactic. All right, I do have to jump off here, but I am going to post the other cars that I did find if you guys want to go over them real quick. Another 350Z for $5,000 and way higher mileage. And then a couple of Toyota Corollas that I also found if you want to go over those. If not, also fine. So let me put those.
The red one
here.
is actually pretty. Oh, there it is. The bubble rust.
Yeah, there was a lot of rust on that one. So yeah, I don't know. Let me pull up this last one here, and then I do have to jump off.
Yeah, I just realized that we only have 33 minutes left in the budget for Zencaster anyways, so we might not be able to get to all of what we had planned for today. So
can't wait for part 2.
Yeah, we might ask you back for part 2, Alex.
I'll be here.
But I think we can look at these just briefly.
All right. Well, anyway, I gotta run, but Alex, thanks for coming on, and we appreciate you helping us out with our car buying decisions here today.
Wait, Connor, I found a '69 Chevelle for $4,000 in Chicago.
Ooh, you should buy that.
Yeah, it looks
not
bad.
me. I made that mistake once. I won't do it again.
All it needs is a new everything.
I also saw a Supra that needs a new head gasket, so I'm sure that's all it needs.
That's easy. Yeah.
It just
doable.
needs spark plugs for a misfire. That's it.
Yeah.
I wish more of my friends would listen to me when I tell them, no, there is a reason it blew a head gasket.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run. I guess Brian, should I just leave this open?
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay, cool. And that's what we'll do.
All right.
See ya
Later. Yeah, I do kind of like this 2002 Corolla with only 57,000 miles on it, or 58, I guess.
Let me check this one out.
It's the cleanest Corolla I have seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's a sweet car, honestly. For like a good daily,
yeah,
it's hard to beat. Hard to beat.
Not going to be like, sporty or fun necessarily, but like it'll get you to work and back.
Oh yeah, I dailied this exact spec just out of high school.
Yeah.
I had an 87 Jetta. That was the beginning of my downfall, that had no heat because the previous owner bypassed the heater core because it was leaking.
Of course.
Yeah, and then my stepmom had one of these that she just didn't really drive, so it never gave me any issues besides the time I used to use it to push shopping carts into curbs at high speeds.
Pro move, if your heater core is leaking, don't bypass it because you need it sometimes. Put in shutoff valves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
Oh, it
go.
was like really leaking. Like it would have leaked coolant on my foot.
Yeah, I've driven vehicles like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Alex, do you want to go next with what you found?
Sure. Oh, I'm not making any sensible decisions here. I just want to see what you guys think.
I'm
It,
not either, so don't worry.
yeah, in my theory is if the car's got high mileage, right? But it had to get there somehow.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
that's a good theory.
and I think this is a badass car for the price.
Wait, which one are we
Okay.
looking at now?
2006 Volvo S60.
Ah,
S60R.
So that is the turbo 5 cylinder.
Yeah, I believe it's a 2.5 turbo 5 cylinder. I think they made from the factory a little bit over 300 horsepower.
yeah, I vaguely remember somebody telling me they had one of these one time and it was real fast.
They are real quick and real tunable. This one's an automatic, but they do come with that cool Spaceball manual shifter.
Oh yeah.
Very comfortable, very safe, exceptionally fast for a pretty big sedan, and also under the radar.
I
Yeah.
have heard that they're not the greatest handling cars, but like it's a big old sedan, so not too surprising.
Yeah, we can't expect too much of it, but you could see those front calipers are pretty hefty.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
and I think it's a pretty good looking car for its time.
Yeah, my neighbor has a couple of these, and I think he likes them pretty well.
Yeah, Volvo people are one of those people like Volkswagen people where it's kind of cultish. Like I said, like this thing's I'm assuming if it wasn't running and driving, it wouldn't be on a used car lot. So like it would at least drive you off the lot.
Right.
And
Yeah.
236,000 miles, like somebody had to take care of it mildly.
I want to trust you because you're a tech, but at the same time, that seems like there's a certain degree where that's just diminishing in truth.
Oh, I'm not telling you this is a good car to buy, and I'm definitely not advising any of the listeners to buy this car. I'm just saying if you want something fun for around $5,000 and you want to learn how to fix cars, this is it.
How are these to work on?
Oh,
Because
probably terrible.
so they'll teach you a lot.
That's what I'm saying. But it's safe. I think it's relatively reliable. I think it's one of those cars that it doesn't matter what it's leaking or what warning lights are on. Like it's probably going to get you where you need to go safely.
It's not how I live my life.
Brandon, speaking of being unsafe, what did you have for us?
Oh God. Okay, so I didn't want to play this game because of the exact thing that happened. I looked for what cars were available around me for less than $5,000, and I actually found. Here, I'll repost it for you guys real quick. But it's a very rare model of Dodge truck, and it's in terrible condition.
Is it a 5.9 Dakota? Oh no.
No, it is literally the thing I saw earlier. I love
Oh,
this.
this one. Yeah.
This I won't say I've actively looked for one, because they're so hard to find that I stopped actively looking for them. It is a 1971 L600. It has the front clip from a like an early Dodge van, but like these big fender flares. The cab tilts forward so that you can get to the motor underneath. It's a commercial vehicle, and
Yeah.
I'm genuinely considering like, oh, I wonder what he can take and how I would get it home.
So, like, do you have a plan for what you would do with this,
Yes,
or
I would
just
I would clean it up, fix it up how it is, like paint it, and then drive it like that.
okay? So, like, not even put a truck bed on it or anything.
I
Just
might put a fifth wheel plate on it.
okay.
Yes.
Um,
Honestly, it's like perfectly patinaed. Like if you put some fresh glass in it and brakes, maybe fix up the seat a little bit.
yeah, I mean, I'm not a great upholsterer, but I can do upholstery. that glass, the two split panels, they're flat, so you can go to any glass cutter and have them made.
Nice.
Yeah, the engine in it is one of the old like Dodge 318s. They're notorious for, I mean, like, they can make power if that's what you want, but they're more well known for never ever dying. They will just make 150 horsepower forever. You know, and not the way that a Toyota would, but in the way that like a work truck would. You know, they last for a while, and it's just so fucking cool. And I don't go for practical because I don't need practical. I just ride my bike to work.
This son of a bitch.
No, I mean, like, that's why I want to ride my bike to work, so I can buy dumb shit like this, and people will be like, why the fuck would you buy that? And I'm like, why the fuck would you be my friend if you're asking me that question? I mean, like, there's some pretty bad dings in it, but I mean, guys asking $4,000, and it's that weird intersection where like not everything that's rare is valuable.
Yeah.
God,
I think at this point you're paying by the pound for this car.
Yeah.
I did think it back over and realized that they do have a more robust frame, but I want to say that the van version of this clocked in at around 3,300 pounds. So my guess would be without the full van body, but the beefier frame and what appears to be 40 leaf springs.
Yeah.
Probably like 3,500 to 4,000 pounds without a full tank of fuel, and 5,000 pounds with a full tank of fuel. I think that's 100 or like maybe an 80-gallon tank.
Yeah, that is like a semi-truck tank, right?
Dude, this was a commercial vehicle. There probably was a fifth wheel plate and not a truck bed on this.
Right.
I don't think that these ever came as pickups. It might have been a flatbed. That's perfectly like feasible, but it might have also had a fifth wheel.
Right.
I'm just appreciating the ease of service, like just looking how you just lift up the front cab and you could just touch everything.
Yeah, like when it says needs brakes, to me, I look at this thing and that doesn't faze me. I might not even have to lay down on my back to do the brakes on this thing.
Yeah, don't forget though, everything's going to be seized and stuck where it is.
I have a system by this point.
Torch.
It's PB Blaster, let it sit, torch for a minute, more PB Blaster, torch, more PB Blaster, wrench.
There we go.
Yep, that breaks free 90% of everything, and then when it doesn't break free, I weld something to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm used to 50-year-old shit. Like that is my bread and butter. So I am well acquainted with how to work on something like this. And the thing is, like, for the area I live in, there is on one fender there is a real ding that is going to have to be hammered out. On the passenger side, it is just caved in.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not nearly as much rust and rot as there should be for this area.
Yeah. I mean, maybe just it's that much thick metal that it hasn't had a chance to rust all the way through.
I have looked for these before, and trust me, that is not the universal truth.
Okay.
No, and Dodge did make a pickup version of their van, which I think that's basically what this cab is. But then that's still kind of interesting because they stopped production on all of the early style Dodge vans and trucks in 60s. Oh, wait, no. I'm thinking of Ford. They stopped in 70. So even this was being a 71, this might just be leftovers.
Yeah. It does very much look like we had this shit lying around and we kind of put it together. But
also, like, those vans are notorious for having a hard time cooling, and this will not have that because of the way, like, that air passageway actually can move air through it. Man, this thing's a win for me. So, like, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. Am I paying $4,000 because I think that this is a good buy or a reasonable purchase or anything to that effect? Fuck no, not in the slightest. But what it is a reasonable price for a canvas that I would love to build something out of.
Yeah. I could see how that'd be fun. I could also see how I would like throw out my back anytime I try to work on this at all because everything looks so heavy.
It's usually got like an assist to it, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
no, dude, dude, pulling the engine on this looks like like a short afternoon endeavor.
Oh yeah.
Zach's worked on some old stuff. He sees what I see at least a little bit.
At least a little bit. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I definitely like the coolness of it. It's got a very big cool factor. It does just look like a rusty old pile of shit at the same time, but not as rusty and not as much of a pile of shit as it could be.
The thing that
So-
concerns me, and this is what I would have to do actual research on, but I know people to talk to. I could find it out. Is like the driver's side door looks pretty rusty, and I don't know if it's rotted. It might just be surface rust, but I have been told that the like whatever this L 600, as much as it looks like an early Dodge van, it is completely different. Like they were modeled to look the same, but nothing swaps over. And if that's the case, this is you have to make sure that everything is present and accounted for because you will not find another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like you said before, you're making the parts for
Right.
it.
Which, you know, I'm used to doing it. And hell, at this point, like I have access to enough stuff where I can just do a billet, like 5-axis CNC copy of it. But all of that's, you know, work and effort that you don't always want to do. So,
yeah. And for the listener, we'll have links for these in the show notes, and also I'll get some screenshots in case the ads go away before this goes to air. So if we're going alphabetical, I've got something here that, like I said, you can. I found plenty of like minivans and family sedans, and you know, realistically, if you wanted a decent, you know, car, I would just get a Prius for this price. Like you can get a Prius with 200,000 miles on it, and it'll do you just fine for a while longer. But with that said, this is what I would get with this money.
Oh no.
Nope.
So this
Nope.
is a 2004 Mini Cooper S.
oh,
With
That's when
the
they were
supercharged
supercharged.
engine
Yeah.
and 150,000 miles on it.
These were built by BMW, I want to
Yep.
say.
These were
Yeah.
built in England with BMW and maybe Renault parts or Peugeot made the engines, I forget. So these are not known for their reliability or
That's an understatement.
or being easy to work on, which is why it's $4,300. So I don't see any obvious issues with it, but that doesn't mean that it's you know, in perfect shape. So
They sound really cool, especially with an intake on them.
oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like 160 something horsepower, so pretty decent. And you can always, you know, swap the pulley and make a little bit more boost and make it less reliable.
and
Yeah, I've driven one that was incredibly fun, but
Yeah.
I'm just not tempted. I do like small cars. I think the interior of these just annoys me too much to ever have to sit in it every day.
It is a little bit
Quirky.
yeah, quirky. That's a good word for it.
I will say that I'm not necessarily tempted by it, but if we swap over from I want to build shit to I have to get places, like if I was working further away again and not able to ride my bike to work every single day, I'm doing that just for Alex now.
Yep,
A reasonably priced vehicle. I would have to do research because I don't know shit about these. So one, I need to find out if I fit in it because I'm 6'4". Two, is 150 miles a lot for one of these vehicles? Because if I can get another like good chunk of mileage out of that, 34 miles highway is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I think it might need premium fuel because it's supercharged.
Yeah.
And you know, my old coworker had, I think, one of the base model ones, or his wife had it, and I think they eventually sold it just because it's so hard to get to anything in the engine bay to fix anything. Like, it's not like that, you know, it's maybe expensive to maintain or anything. It's just to get to all that shit, you have to take the whole front end apart. So it's a little bit like Zach's old Audi in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those cars that there's not necessarily well-known large mechanical failures, just a lot of little shit is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a
Yeah.
BMW thing. It's going to
Yeah,
leak
like
from everywhere.
electrical issues, that kind of thing.
Oh nope,
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm
and
out.
it's going to leak oil, it's going to leak coolant from flanges and like just like you said, shit that's going to be hard to get to without practically taking the engine out of the car.
Yeah.
But a lot of fun.
And I will say they are decently roomy. I had a friend who's about 6'4", and he sat in one and was very impressed with how much space there was. So
Yeah, my big problem is that I just think that they're ugly as fuck.
Yeah, that's something to get past. The owner of my dealership, who could actually probably drive whatever the fuck he wants, chooses to daily drive a Mini Cooper, but it's the newer one, like the GP, like the 350 horsepower one with the big arrow and all that shit.
Oh, okay.
okay.
But he's a big dude, like he's at least 6'2", and he happily daily drives that thing. So I think they're pretty accommodating for bigger people. So
Twice in an area that I hang out in, but don't go to very often. I've seen an old school Mini Cooper that has been hot rodded, lowered, like a little bit of camber, and it looks pretty fucking quick. So that's the only Mini Cooper I can think of in a long while that I've been like, man, that kind of looks sick.
the original ones are very cool and pretty popular for Honda swaps.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised because that thing was moving, man.
Yeah.
You know, I on the I think it's on the Grassroots Motorsports forums. There was someone taking one of these generation of Mini Coopers and swapping in Subaru WRX drivetrain, like the whole all-wheel drive system and everything.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Which seems like a lot of effort to make something that, like marginally better than a WRX.
It's
'Cause
just
he was
a
like,
weird factor at that point.
yeah. I mean, like he was having to like cut out like parts of the unibody and like weld in different fabricated, parts and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you want it to be as reliable as a Subaru, that's a way to go.
I'm super jealous of people with like very extremely talented fabrication skills because that's probably the case. No one would I don't think anybody would pay somebody to build that car, but if you have these skills to do that yourself and just like fuck it, let's see if I could do it.
Yeah.
That's something I would genuinely like love to do.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, what did you find?
Oh, I found the answer. What is always the answer?
Of course.
We all know.
Uh-oh, this posting has been deleted by its
Sold
author.
because it was
Oh
too
no!
good. It's
It was
sold.
too good.
Was
It
it
was posted 4 hours ago. Oh my god!
was that
I
the
have it.
hail
I
damage?
have it. Yeah, I have it pulled up still, so I'm gonna go over it still, and I can throw some screenshots in there. But yeah, it's already gone.
Guess what?
It's
I bought it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Too far from me.
No, this is a 1999 Mazda Miata, the NB. It's got hail damage, but it's only got 77,000 miles on it. And they're asking, let's see,
Four or something?
$2,500.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that is why it went so quickly.
Mm.
I guarantee it.
In the same way
It's
that
like-
$2,500 for a beater with a heater these days, it's like $2,500 is nothing to throw down on a car. Just
Yeah, I mean, I was legitimately considering this because as far as like a fun little track car goes, it's really hard to beat a Miata. And with only 77K on the clock, like you've got plenty of life left in it. And yeah, it looks like it has a pretty clean soft top as well, which is
yeah, it looked like it was
surprising.
only cheap because of the hail damage, and who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's just a golf ball arrow. You know?
That's
You're faster
literally
through
what
the air.
people ask for hard tops now.
Yeah.
What?
Miata hard tops are around $2,500 now.
Oh, I know. And I sold mine for like $800. I needed the money at the time, but
Recently, or
no. This was like 10 years ago.
and that makes sense. They were like 800 to 1,000 like 10 years ago. Now they're
Yeah.
like the price of what a Miata. I bought an NA Miata for $2,000 in like 2012. A running driving one.
Yeah. That's unheard of these days. You could not touch a running driving NA for less than, I don't know, $8,500 now.
If it's a decent car, yeah, they're still $5,000 to $6,000 cars, but they're beat to shit. You know,
I mean,
Yeah.
I just found one for 4,900. It is
What kind
beat
of
to shit.
condition? Yeah, I was gonna say, what kind of condition is that in?
Um,
Yeah.
Yep, that's what they look like. Yep.
Yeah, I think the NB being a little bit of a dark horse helps the price on this one because
For sure.
people don't really like the NB. Doesn't have the pop up headlights, has a little less desirable styling,
Mhm.
but it's still a Miata. It's still got the Miata charm to it,
Yeah.
and it's still a fun car. So yeah, if you're looking for a fun track day car that you could still drive around daily reasonably, I think that was a good one. Unfortunately, it is no
Someone's
longer
enjoying
available.
it.
Yeah, I hope that they continue to enjoy it.
My coworker has that same. It's that dark green NB, and he just recently installed the Fly Miata like Stage One Turbo kit that makes it like a very respectable 200 to the wheels, and he let me drive it, and boy, is that just a perfect car.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And it's all it needs. Like it's not too much. It doesn't lose like the Miata feel to it. It's just it feels like what the car always needed.
Yeah, just a little pep in it.
Yep.
I was
Yeah.
going to do that, and then I ran out of money. But
Yeah, that's what happens with turboing cars that didn't come turboed. It gets expensive.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, since mine was already sold, I'll throw out my runner up real quick. It's a 2008 Toyota Tundra 4x4 for $4,900. Does have 250,000 miles on it, but as we've said before, it's a Toyota, so that's just past the break-in period.
Yeah, that's pretty bulletproof.
Yeah,
Does it come with a bed topper also?
it does. Does come with a paint-matched hard shell topper, 4.7 liter V8, little wrinkled on the side. Looks like it's gotten some damage, but this is one that I'm actually genuinely considering for my pickup purchase.
Hell yeah.
I love that. Like y'all think about things like you think about mileage the way I think about how hard it will be to find another motor.
Yeah.
Like 200,000 miles is barely anything, and I'm like, it's a Chevy small block with 200,000 miles. I'll just put a new one in it in a month when it needs it.
Yeah, the good thing is there's a lot of 4.7 liter V8s in junkyards too. So if this ever needed a motor, I mean, it's basically like the Toyota version of a Chevy small block. It's
Yeah, I say
super
Chevy
fun.
for my purposes, but yeah, dude, if something is replaceable easily or moderately easily given your skill level, whatever, gold. I'll take something insanely high mileage that I can drop a new motor in over the weekend in a heartbeat, like for the right money.
Yeah.
The combination of looking at these two cars back to back reminds me of an NA Miata that had a V8 from a Lexus LS.
Oh,
Oh
those are
man.
nice.
And it was just perfectly like besides the Lexus badging on the valve cover or intake manifold, wherever it was, it just looked like it belonged in the car.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple RX-8s with that swap too. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, and it just those motors don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the modern version of a Shelby Cobra.
Yeah.
Really.
Exactly.
You're just shoving a V8 into a little roadster.
And you can put forced induction on those motors and make like
Oh god.
400 to 600 horsepower on the bottom end, stock bottom end, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dumb
Like they're
ways to die.
Yeah.
I mean they're cross bolted mains from the factory, so they're
Wow.
pretty robust.
Yes.
Well, we only got 5 minutes left here, so I think rather than try to cover anything else, we'll just do a part 2 of this later on and get some actual advice of what to buy and what to look for, rather than our bullshit unreliable basket case.
By the next time we record, I'm gonna have already bought this fucking truck.
This was the fun what not to buy, or what
Yeah.
to buy if you're just starting out and you've got a set of tools and you want to learn how to fix shit the real life way.
Yeah.
But we could definitely come up with some cars that are sensible based on, because some people want a reliable car, but they also want something they might like. So maybe we should try, tuning into different tastes of Japanese cars, American cars. There are some somewhat reliable European cars, and maybe I'll cover that part. Yeah, and give people options on decent cars for around $5,000 that are also kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we did a little bit.
Everybody knows that the Civic is good. You're going to be good with a Civic. You're going to be good with an Accord. I feel like if you're a car guy on this channel, you already know that. But
yeah, but it's like if you get a Civic or any sort of Subaru, then you got to factor in the cost of all the vapes.
Yeah, that does add up quickly.
Yeah, and the Volkswagens usually come preloaded with like the My Chemical Romance CD.
I love that because I don't even know Volkswagen stereotypes of any sort. So that's just.
Oh, we're emo as hell, man. Masochist.
Well, something to look forward to on the next one. We'll go into more depth. For now, I'll plug our social media, Cars and Comrades, at most everything. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Hexbear, sometimes Facebook, maybe Threads by the time this comes out. Alex, why don't you plug your social media before we get out of here?
Sure. If you're interested in seeing pictures of my dog and my daily car stuff, my Instagram is For the Animals. It's _the_2_ So good luck finding that. And hopefully I'll be back for the next episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Hopefully I'll have this truck soon.
Oh, and also you can email us carsandcomrades@gmail.com if you want to be on the show, if you have some stuff that you want to talk about. But with that, I'm going to stop. Goodbye, everyone.
Cool.
Bye.
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 Capitalism works, if it works at all, because it always has socialism to bail it out and to subsidize it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
In the 1980s, 50 corporations controlled most news media in America. By 1992, that number shrunk to 24. And today, only 6 corporations control 90% of everything Americans see, hear, and read. The money spent on the Iraq War alone, which killed 1 million people, 5% of Iraq's entire population, and planted the seeds for ISIS to flourish, could have covered all global investments to halt climate change trends.